legends where magic meets the heart. Commander's Pod, where the stories unfold, with heroes and villains new and old. Duncan and Sloan got the word, in the world of EVA we play.
Hello everyone, welcome to Commander's Pod once again. I'm your pod father, Duncan.
I'm Sloan.
And we are Jeffless once again. This should be the last time. We're hoping he'll be back with us next week.
Yep.
But he's sorry he couldn't be here. Just scheduling, we couldn't work it out where we all three could do it at the same time.
Yeah, unfortunately. And the worst part was we rescheduled it so we could all be here, and then he found out last minute he had something he had to attend. So,
Yep.
So unfortunately, yeah, he will not be with us this week, but we're hoping to have him back next week.
Yep. So today we're going to talk about just some kind of housekeeping stuff, some stuff we've talked about, following up on it, stuff like that. So we're going to talk about the Deadpool. I made a deck and I got to use it, and I want to talk about that.
Yeah,
and what
I'm very
doing with
excited.
Because we talked about the Deadpool secret lair last time.
Yep.
And we have some updates on the Commander Precon League.
We do.
And we have a That Doesn't Do What You Think It Does.
Very
haven't had
excited
one of
about
those
that.
in a while.
Yeah, we haven't had one in a minute, so that's exciting.
Yep. And so we'll just kind of talk about a few things, kind of like we did last time. So
Yeah.
so first of all, the Deadpool deck that I made. So I thought I was going to see a ton of them last weekend
Right.
because people had gotten them earlier in the week, and up till like Wednesday, most of the people I know of that got them had gotten them. I'm like, oh, it's going to be a million Deadpool.
Right.
Only me and one of the shop owners had their deck done.
Yeah. Now, I will say it does help for you and the shop owner that you guys do probably have a more extensive library to pull from to build this, because
That
this is a
probably is
very
true.
specific type of deck that you're building. It's
Right.
not one that you probably have a lot of cards lying around that will work for it. And then also, it did only get here in the middle of the week last week, so that is only 3 days. As I mentioned previously, Jeff and Duncan very generously gifted it to me for my birthday. It's an early birthday present. I also got it. However, I did not have any time to build it. They are beautifully displayed on my desk at home right now. And that's about as far as I've gotten.
So I'll just tip my hand because I want to talk about what I did, and I'm going to I'll put up some of the things I've done. So I did it. You can do it lots of different ways. You can do it bouncing. You could do it myriad.
Mm-hmm.
You could do it, you're copying your own creature's abilities to give Deadpool something that he shouldn't have.
Right.
You know, like they give shadow to like 2/1s and stuff. And
Yeah.
like, you could have it on your 5/3 commander and turn it into a Voltron.
Right.
Things like that. I'm doing it clones. Now, the clones, for the most part, will only appear for a quick moment, go away.
Yep.
However, the ability still triggers.
Right.
So I won't get whatever their text box said, but I will exchange and they
Deadpools.
won't have it. So I
Right.
can just take it from them.
Right, because that is an important distinguishment for his ability is it doesn't go away when he goes away. It permanently changes the text box. So that is something that is a lot more impactful, because a lot of times when you have cards like this, it usually says until this card goes away or until what.
Yeah.
That is not the case. This stays on that card until that card leaves.
Right.
So
Like I said, I built it clones. I only got to run it once because I brought it the same day we were doing the Precon League, and
Right.
that took most of the night.
it did take most of the night, which we're going to get into that, by the way. I have a lot of thoughts about
Yep.
it, and I'm sure Duncan does too.
Yep. We have a lot of stuff to talk about
but,
with that.
Yeah, this Deadpool, I was really sad because I was at the league. I got to join and play, and I unfortunately, as soon as the league was over, I had to go because my wife was needing me to get home because we were going to the park the next day. So I had to get home to help her pack and get ready for that. So I did not get to see this in action myself. So I'm excited to hear how it went.
So it went very, very well. Now, I did not win,
Right.
but it was super close. It was really super close. And the reason I did not win, and it was I'm kind of a little bit like, ooh. So Bryce had played against Josh, the shop owner's
Right.
deck already. He knew the kinds of things it did.
Yeah.
And he actually built a deck, not because he played them, but he brought it in that night. And it just happened he had built this deck. He had built a deck that really didn't get affected by it.
Okay.
So he had a dinosaur deck. I can't remember which dinosaur it was, but it's like you discard cards when it comes out and you get all the keywords those cards had.
Oh, the big one from I know what you're talking about. It's the one from the Jurassic Park set.
Yeah. But you get keyword counters.
Right. So you don't
So
actually
me changing
get the ability.
so me changing the text box doesn't affect that.
Right.
And all the rest of his stuff is an ETB.
Right. So yeah, that one's kind of rough for you to go against if someone does have something like that. Now the one plus side is it is dealing damage to him each turn. So you do have that going for you.
And I had him down to 9 life.
There you go.
When I died, he had 9 life left.
So so I guess that's a funny thing to think about too, is because that is a triggered ability. So if you have a way to replicate a triggered ability,
if you have a way to flash in Deadpool, you can then steal that.
Yeah.
If you can flash it in with that ability on the stack, you actually steal the text box. But you would need flash.
Yeah.
I mean, that's a different, and there's not a lot of red-black flash.
Right, yeah.
You know, you can use the artifact Vidalcan Orrery.
Yeah.
But other than that, I can't think of anything off the top of my head that gives you flash.
Yeah,
in
which
those colors.
which might be a nice auto include for this deck, just because that is a good way to that's a good way to get around that. So maybe that's something to consider if you're building this. Is maybe think about adding a Vulcan or just because of that one instance where if you do have these commanders or other creatures that don't really care about being on the field but rather entering the field, that is a good way to kind of sneak him in, because Deadpool's not expensive. I think he's 4, right?
Yeah,
Two
two, a red and a black.
Yeah. Yep. So he's not, and the Vidalcan Orrery I think is 4 also to get out.
Yep.
So.
But so that's kind of how that went. It was a really good showing. Like both players were like, "Oh my word, this is ridiculous," because Bryce could not bring out anything else, or I was going to steal his text box.
Right.
So he only had the one creature.
Right.
Now, unfortunately, he right off the bat got indestructible, vigilance, death touch, flying.
Right. And all counters, which there's a difference between a text box and the counters, which is a big distinguishing factor for Deadpool.
Yeah. And once he had indestructible, that also meant, well, now I can't kill it very easily either. So that was a problem. But so when I was done, I was like, that was a lot of fun. And I was thinking about it. I want to make proxies to go in the deck.
Right.
Now, because I put things in the deck that don't necessarily fit in the deck, but I put them in there because like knowledge pool.
Right. Right.
Should
Yeah.
be in there.
Absolutely.
Reflecting pool, while it does go in the deck, it's not necessary on a 2-color deck, but I'm like, reflecting pool I want in the deck.
Yeah.
And I was like, and then I put mirror pool. Now that one does because it can make a copy of a creature.
Right. Yeah.
So I put those 3 in, and I'm like, I want to make proxies of those. And I was like, there's a few things I thought I could do proxies with. So I'll put them up here. I wanted to show them real quick. Because I'm pretty proud of how these turned out.
Yeah, they're definitely funny and very on theme, and the flavor text is great too.
So I did an arcane signet. You know what it does, but the flavor text says, "Behold, the arcane signet, forged in the fires of plot convenience and blessed by every color of mana, because Wizards loves making staple cards." So I did have ChatGPT help me with this. I gave it ideas and it worked on it. I thought that one came out pretty good.
That's a good one. I like that one a lot.
These are all things that they're quotations from that Deadpool might say.
Yeah. And again, if you're wondering why he's mentioning Wizards, Deadpool is known to be one of the comic heroes that breaks the fourth wall.
Right.
So he knows he's a comic book hero, and everyone else thinks he's crazy because he'll turn and talk to you in the comic as if you are there, because you are there. He knows you're there.
Right. So in this instance, he knows about Wizards of the Coast.
He knows about Wizards because he knows that he's in a game. Hence the name of his card is Deadpool Trading Card.
Yeah.
Like he knows.
So I made some copy tokens because I'm going to be copying stuff.
Right.
So one of them, which I'll show here, Deadpool in a lab coat with a vial, and looks like he's in a lab, and it says, "Okay, so cloning me is slightly harder than reheating a chimichanga. Who knew the secret sauce was mental instability and regenerative tissue?"
Yeah.
So again, I like that one. On this one, which it's a bunch. This one, so I played around here. Now I know some people don't like AI. I'm not an artist, and I'm not gonna pay somebody a lot of money to make me proxies.
Right.
So I used AI, and one of them came out like really bad.
Right.
Right. Like it's like faces with Deadpool's black around their eyes, and that's like it. And I was like, it kind of reminded me of Weapon X,
Yeah.
So I told it to give me a quote as if the clones came out like Weapon X.
Yeah.
And so here's what it said. Congratulations, team. You've made the worst versions of me since Fox did it the first time. I mean, what in the name of Betty White is the one in the back left corner? So if you look at that one, it's just some guy. Like, it doesn't look anything like Deadpool. It doesn't have the black around. It's like some guy just walked in to the picture. And I worked on it. So the original ending was what the heck is going on with this, and it was something that didn't make sense. So I changed it to what in the name of Betty White. I just thought that was funny. And I pointed out the guy in the back corner. And on this one, clone Deadpool, they said. It'll be fun, they said. Now it's just me, a pile of corpses, and a playlist from Drowning Pool. So anybody who knows Drowning Pool, their famous song is "Let the Bodies Hit the Floor."
Yeah.
So he's surrounded by Deadpools on the floor. So, and then this one, he's hooked up to a clone machine. And he says, "I don't feel so good." I need anything else. It's just a word bubble, like a comic.
That's good.
So okay, this one is secret tech, but I'm going to share it with you, listeners and viewers. One of the things I'm doing, and a lot of people said, "Oh, that's cheeky." I have Norin the Wary in the deck.
Yeah.
And the reason I have Norin the Wary in the deck is because Deadpool wants that text.
Yeah.
Okay? So he is going to, I'm going to work it where I can steal the text from Norin. And so he will have Norin's ability. When he has Norin's ability, nobody's going to want to bring out a creature, because the moment I do, they do.
Yeah, he
bounces.
Yeah.
He comes down, and I get there. So I made a Deadpool the Wary that I can put down when that happens. And the flavor text is, "Nope, nope, nope, nope. I'm out. You cast anything, I vanish faster than my movie rights at a Disney board meeting." So here's Helm of the Host, because obviously that's real good tech.
Yeah,
in there.
it's so good.
And I did this one came out kind of more comic booky, like the Goofy comic books, and I was like, that's kind of funny. And he says, "Good news, everyone. I've successfully created an unstoppable Deadpool army. Bad news, they've unionized and demand dental."
That's so good.
So
these are really good flavor text. I like
it's that they all came out really good.
Yeah, they're all solid.
I mean, I had to go through a couple iterations before I found some, but I was like, this is Knowledge Pool.
Okay.
Okay. And just the picture they did came out awesome.
Yeah.
Because it's him. I said, put him at a graduation like he's graduating.
Yeah.
So they put him in a hat and the robe, and he's holding a sign. This was all the AI, and it says, "Worst graduation ever." Each a different line, one word sentence. So I thought that one was really good. Here's Mirror Pool, which I already mentioned. Mm-hmm. And the flavor text here. "Oh, hey, sexy. Have you been working out or just photoshopped by fate? Either way, I'd totally date me."
Yeah.
And then I wanted to do the lands, the basic lands. I want to have proxies, so mountains and swamps.
Right.
And so I did here as I tried to do like as if he was in a movie, based on these scenes. Like, what are famous movies? So for mountain, I was like, okay, Cliffhanger, right? It's an old movie, was Sylvester Stallone, but it was all took place like mountain climbing.
Right. Yeah. Yeah.
So I have a picture with Deadpool kind of recreating a scene Sylvester Stallone did, and he says, "Stallone made this look way cooler and with less chafing." Mountain was hard. Swamp was a lot easier. I had a lot of ideas for swamp. Yeah. So another one I thought, Highlander. Like, a lot of that took place like on mountainside.
Right.
So here he is doing that, and it says, "I am Deadpool McCloud of the Clan McCloud, and I cannot die." Like, seriously, I've tried a lot. All right. And then here we have Deadpool dressed as Elsa.
Right.
Right.
Yeah.
And this is this flavor text again is 100% all me. This one had nothing to do with AI. It's like, "Hey, we were down to this or Brokeback Mountain. You're welcome."
Yes, that's good. I like that.
So, and then reflecting pool, there he is, looking at his reflection in the pond, and he says, "Whoa, handsome, hilarious, and disturbingly well armed. Either I'm looking in a mirror or the multiverse just got way more awesome." Yeah. Soul Ring. I was like, so people have done some crude ones for Soul Ring where he's like showing his butt.
Yeah.
I'm like, no. So I did. You're looking down the barrel of his gun.
Right.
You know what I mean? I'm like, that's a ring. That's a soul ring.
It's a
You know, and the quote here is, so you got to ask yourself one question. Do you feel lucky? Well, do you, punk? Because I've got 6 bullets, a chimichanga in my pocket, and absolutely no sense of self-preservation. So I wanted a quote there that was like Dirty Harry because I thought that would be appropriate.
Yeah, absolutely.
Here's the swamps. I got Deadpool with Shrek. And he says, mutants have layers too, but they are more like a chimichanga.
Great. Love it.
Swamp, here he is with Yoda, wearing Yoda's robes with Yoda's stick. And he says, all right, mini glow stick swinger. Lesson 1, do or do not. There is no whining. Got it? Good. Now try to lift that rock. And by rock, I mean my emotional baggage. And then this one's a little more obscure. It's probably more for the older people. So this is Deadpool leading Artax, the horse from Neverending Story.
Yeah.
Anybody who's seen that movie knows that Artax gets lost in the swamp of despair and like dies.
Right.
Like it's a very sad part of the movie. And so he says, remember Neverending Story? Poor Artax has no idea what lies ahead. I don't have the heart to tell him. And again, that one was all me. It was kind of something I wanted to do just because I thought that would be a cool one.
Right.
But
that is sick.
I may do a few more, but I just thought they came out really good.
Yeah, they were awesome. And the other cool thing that you found, which we got one here in person. I'm sure you'll throw one up behind us, and we're gonna shout out this guy too. So if you have a Deadpool deck and you want these, Duncan,
I don't know if I want. Like he may not want. Well, he posted on Facebook. I mean, that's probably more.
Yeah, I mean, he posted it for people to purchase them. Yep. So he made these little cards that, if you look at it, it's actually the exact shape of the bottom portion where the text box would be, and it has the cutout for the power and toughness because they get to keep that.
Yep.
And it's a little comic strip style art of Deadpool saying, so I stole your creature's text box. What does that mean for you? Your card now says, at the beginning of your upkeep, you lose 3 life. Pay 3, sacrifice this creature. Each other player draws a card. This stays even if I, Deadpool, or a copy of me leaves play. On the bright side, you keep your power and toughness and creature type. And the other cool thing is, too, the back of it actually is that portion of the card, too, he has cut out here.
Yeah,
so
he cut out an actual Magic the Gathering card.
Yeah, so they look great. It is the ones that Duncan got are foiled, too. So it's very clean looking. The art on it is sick. It looks just like the comic book Deadpool. And I like the
I'll tell you what I'll do.
chat.
If you want to know where I got them,
Yeah.
email
you
cast@commanderspod.com,
Yeah.
and I'll tell you where I got them. That way I can have a chance to talk to the guy and find out, like,
Yeah.
if he wants me to limit how many people or what, because I don't want him overwhelmed with orders.
Yeah, absolutely. And we also, we know, some of you may not have gotten a Deadpool set, and if you didn't, hopefully you can get your hands on one somehow. They are supposed to be going to shops. Don't forget.
April 25th, WPN shops.
WPN shops, non-foiled edition, are supposed to be going
Right. Now,
WPN shops.
we mentioned this before, but the bad part is the shops did not know what they were pre-ordering when they ordered it. They thought they were ordering the old Marvel ones.
Yeah, the original
So
Marvel
some
ones that came
shops
out.
may not have ordered as many as they could have.
Just reach out to your local shop, see if they're a WPN shop, and if they are, see if they ordered any of these, so you can try to get
We
your hands
also
on them.
don't know what shops are going to do with them. We
Right.
don't know what rules Wizards is putting on. Now, my shop, Mystic Forge Games, which I mentioned a lot, the shop we go to,
Yeah.
they're very, very upstanding guys. They don't want to charge more than what they're supposed to charge. So
Right.
even though these are going to be insanely popular, they're just going to charge what Wizards wants them to charge.
Right. What the
what
cost
the
should
original
be.
cost was, or I don't know if they had to pay a little more. I might have to charge a tiny bit more.
Yeah.
But they're not going to jack the price because that's what they're going for on TCG.
Yeah, because if you guys haven't looked, some of these, especially the foil ones, I know have gone up a decent amount since they actually released and dropped, and so
Yeah.
I do know the price has gone up.
Well, they shot way up at first. They've come down to more a reasonable level. The last thing I knew, Deadpool's selling for like $20 non-foil.
Right.
That's more reasonable. But you might be able to pick up the whole non-foil secret layer at your shop for
Right.
For each of the cards at a better price than you can buy them individually. So,
Right. Absolutely. So
they also might do it as a prize or something, depending on your shop. If they only got 1 or 2, maybe they'll do them as prizes instead of selling
yeah,
them.
for game night one night or
Yep.
Friday
So,
Night Magic or something. So
Check it out. But anyway, So that's my Deadpool story. That's what I'm doing with my deck and what I'm working on. I obviously own all those cards, but I have them in my deck now. I didn't have to buy one card for the deck. That's one of the reasons why I was able to get it out, like you mentioned.
Right.
But I wanted to proxy some stuff to make it more of a theme deck and really have it fit in better.
Right. Yeah.
So let's move on to That Doesn't Do What You Think It Does. This one, it's rather niche, but people, I was reading a forum online where people had a problem with this, and I've seen in other instances where in this rare instance, there is things that can happen that can mess you up. So when a player is dying with spells on the stack,
right.
Let's say they cast a board wipe, right?
Right.
Somebody went to counter it, and you're like, no, I want the board wipe to happen, so you fork their board wipe. Well, somebody else, maybe they only had 3 left, and they lightning bolt them.
Right.
The original person who cast the board wipe. They kill that player. Their spell is exiled from the stack. When it gets time for your fork, you do not have a legal target.
Right. Yeah. Because in that instance, what happens is the original counter that's targeting the board wipe, because now the spell was being exiled, that fizzles, which means the fork fizzles. So this is something that, like Duncan, this is very niche. You probably won't see this happen too often. The only time I've actually experienced this was in a game I was in, and it was one of my, I think it might have been my Prosper deck. Because with Prosper, as long as I sacrifice an artifact when I have certain creatures out, it deals 1 damage to each opponent. Right. And so when someone went to try to go, they were trying to get rid of my board state, I went to do something, and then someone tried countering it. Then I kept doing stuff, and then eventually, because my damage is a triggered ability, if no one else has anything else to do to resolve the stack, then that triggered ability happens. And so by the time it got back down to that original person trying to do something, they were already dead, so it didn't matter anymore. So it is something that's very niche. You probably won't interact with this too much because of how specific it is. But with that being said, it is something to keep in mind that whenever a player dies, everything they own, and including spells on the stack, are exiled immediately.
Yep.
That's permanents you
spells
control that
and
they
abilities
own.
on the stack.
Anything that's on the stack, anything that you can correlate back to that player. Their graveyard, cards on the field that you control that they own, anything that is theirs, immediately exiled, and it goes away. So that is something.
I also saw another situation where somebody cast, a player was getting ready to die, but they had a really good creature out.
Right.
So somebody's like, okay, I'm going to clone that. And what somebody did is, while the clone's on the stack, they killed the other player.
Right. And then
now it lands and there's nothing to target.
Right.
So I have seen it happen that way. It is niche, but that is, many people know the permanents. We've talked about that before.
Mm-hmm.
Permanents get exiled. So if you control their permanents and they die, they're exiled. You don't have them anymore.
Right. You no longer control.
But spells and abilities on the stack exile with it.
Correct.
So they're spells and abilities. So just keep that in mind. It's very niche, but it can have an effect on the game. So just know.
Yeah, it could. It definitely could change the play, because if what you were planning on doing was relying on something, and then that thing goes away, whether it's a creature you're trying to steal or trying to keep a player alive because you need maybe an extra body, but you're wording it differently, But yeah, I mean, that's definitely something to keep in mind, that if someone's eliminated, everything they own is exiled with them. So including abilities, and especially too, because this is one that I guess we'll do a callback to. Rhystic Study. If they had a bunch of Rhystic Study triggers on the stack, and you were burying the pay the 1 part with another spell, and you kill them, you no longer have to worry about paying the 1.
Well, that one's kind of obvious too, though, because they die. But
right, but still,
but there's other things that maybe they were doing something that was causing something to happen that you didn't want to happen.
Yeah, so things like that. So keep that in mind. If it does come up, it's important to know how it works. But it's one of those ones that you might need to dust off for once in a while to remind yourself, because it doesn't happen too often.
Right. So just keep that in mind. So let's talk about the Precon League. We had our first night. It was big. It was pretty good. everybody in the shop that was in the shop was playing that.
Yeah, I mean, so we'll start with we'll start with overall thoughts on how you think it went and kind of like your feeling about it. So I'll start to kind of give you an idea. Overall, I think it's great. I think it was super fun. The concept of everyone being basically at the same starting point and only being able to do the same amount of upgrades is very cool to me.
So
it definitely makes it a lot more fun.
They didn't allow you to make any changes to your precon deck that first night,
right?
Until the end of the night.
Yeah, and then once
you
the
couldn't
round's
change
over.
basic lands in for your tap lands. You couldn't do any changes.
Yep.
Once that was done, then you could. Then you get your,
Yep.
for those that maybe didn't catch last episode, for those, for every week you can get either 3 booster packs, play booster packs, or one, I'll call it a premium pack because it could be a collector booster, or I got Modern Horizons 3 is what I chose.
Right, which is considered a premium set.
Yep. The remastered sets would probably be considered premium.
So you would only be able to get one of those.
If they had masters, that would be.
Yeah. So I definitely think overall, I think it went really well. I think the concept of it and then getting to see it play out went great. I mean, the games were super fun, even though we'll talk about our record. So I won 1 game and lost 2. So there's 3 rounds total for it, and each round was only an hour. So the first 2 games, I was the very first game, I almost pulled it off with 1 life left.
Yep.
I had 1 life, and I was right there, and they ended up taking care of me because they're like, no, we can't let you win with 1 life. So I ended up losing.
And which deck were you playing?
So I got the Ixalan Precon, the pirate one.
Yep.
So that is red, blue, black.
And what's your commander? Which one are you running?
So the first 2 games I ran the vampire pirate, which is the one that says creatures you control but don't own get +2/+2, have death touch and menace, and then spells that you cast but don't own. When you cast them, you create 2 tap treasure tokens. The first game, it actually went really well because I actually got out early one of my pirates that whenever I deal damage with another pirate to another player, for each player that I dealt damage to, I get to exile the top card of their library and then I can cast it. Now, the downside is I can't use mana of any color to cast it, so that's a little rough. It definitely makes it harder to bank off of that. But the very first game, like, I teed off. Like, I got him out early because I got a really fast start, and I had like 2 or 3 spells. Like, I was creating treasures. I had a couple of guys that I didn't own but controlled, so they had death touch and +2. Like, I was definitely, going at it for sure. But as soon as that board wipe happened and that pirate went away, it got very difficult to try to get back to that point. So the first 2 games I ran him, and then I switched out for Admiral Brass, which is not the one that is the commander for the Precon. It's the other one that's in it. Same exact card name, but different type of card altogether. So the one I ran the last game, which is the game I ended up winning, was whenever you deal damage with 3 or more pirates to 1 player in a single turn, gain control of target permanent that player controls. I think non-land permanent that player controls. And so I went with that because I noticed that there's a lot of really cheap pirates, like 2 drops.
Yep.
So it was very easy for me to get out by turn 4/3 pirates, and then I cast her for 4 mana, and then I swing that same turn. I get to steal something immediately.
Yep.
Right? And I just steal it. I own it. There's no getting it back.
Now that's the one they chose. I like the other guy better, but that's the one they choose for the Precon commander, and I guess for you that definitely is the way to go.
Right, and the main reason why is because with the way the Precon is set up, like, there is ways to steal creatures from other people, but there's not a lot of good ways to steal spells. So you can't take advantage of both of his abilities.
That's true. I mean, in an ideal world where you can put whatever colors you want, maybe the other guy might work out better.
Right, and so that was the issue I ran into in the second game. I could not get anything to get spells from anybody or creatures. Like, I just couldn't. I was not hitting anything. So, like, that was rough. And then the other thing, too, that kind of stinks is that a lot of the steal creature stuff is until end of turn. So that's the other thing that's not great is I have to give everything back anyways.
Yeah.
And I'd rather try to keep it if I could, that's the advantage of the Admiral Brass one is you just get to keep them. There's no giving them back, right? So So I was running her, and that's the one I ended up winning with at the end, and I won on the last turn. It came back to me at the end, but basically what had happened was I swung at the guy because I got a couple of little 2-drop pirates out. He can only get 1 dragon out. He's playing one of the Tarkiers, and he couldn't do anything else. And I said, oh, I got a chance, because he was at 11 life, and I was at 16.
And you were at turns?
We were at turns,
Yeah,
and I already sent it
they had
to
a
him.
1 hour limit for the match.
Right, and so the way it works is whoever's turn it is, you do one more rotation, and then that person gets one final go at it, which when they said turns, it was me going. So I finished that turn, I sent it to him, he did what he could, which was only cast 1 creature, and then he sent it back to me. I said, okay, I got to kill him now or I lose, and so I ended up being able to do it. I got him down to 0 because I was able to. I drew a terminate and I destroyed his creature, leaving him wide open for me just to swing out and kill him.
Nice.
And I boosted my stuff and everything. So I got 1 win. I was really happy about it. And then my upgrades. We'll go over our upgrades in a second. What we ended up getting. But so that's how I did. I went one for 3 in my games. How did you do, Duncan?
2 for 3, and the last one. A, I made a mistake that if I hadn't made, I would have definitely had it.
Yeah.
B, it was so close. It was so close, but we went to turns 2 in that last game.
Yeah.
I'm playing the Just Guy Striker deck, and one of the reasons I chose it is going through the deck list. There's a ton of cards that if I'm building a deck in those colors, I totally put those cards in there. Arcane Denial, Swords to Plowshares, Narset's Reversal.
Right, because that's America, right? Red, white, blue.
Yep.
Yeah.
So, just a lot of the cards I would already put in there were there.
Right.
So that definitely, and some people were saying the Abzian, I think, deck was stronger. I think that's one.
Mardu.
Mardu, is that the one?
I think that's the one, because that one was the one that sold out first, I think. For
I don't
Precon.
think that's the one, though. I think that sold out first. That was more popular. But somebody said from what they saw for win percentage, the Abzian won more.
Oh, okay.
And then Sultai was second. I don't know. I mean, I was doing quite well. In my first game, or was it my second? I'm not sure. But I had, funny story, there was a creature in it. I can't remember the name of it, but it was a blue 3/3 flyer with vigilance. And it said, when you cast a spell that targets a player or permanent, draw a card for each, or just draw a card.
Right.
Okay. And when I was going over the deck before the thing, I was kind of making a list of cards I thought I could get rid of. And I was looking through and I'm like, I don't think there's that many cards at target. So I think that one could be on my list to
maybe cut. Yeah.
Well, no, not in anymore. No,
Yeah.
no. So in 2 of the games that was relevant. In both of those games, I got copies of it.
Yeah.
And in one of the games, I got 9 copies of it.
Yeah, you were just digging like a fiend.
It was ridiculous.
Like you were digging ditches.
Yeah. It was crazy. And, vigilance and a 3/3 flyer is really good, too, because now you don't have to tap to attack.
Yeah.
Many people didn't have flying.
Yeah.
It was just so good. Now, the last game, the game that I lost, I didn't lose. We went to turns and it tied.
Yeah, you drew.
And the way they do it is you get 1 point for each match, and you get 1 point for winning each match. And the reason they did it that way, they don't want anybody to be able to run away with it in 2 weeks, win every
Right.
game, and have everybody else go, well, it's no point.
Right.
They want to keep it close. It especially helps because I'm going to miss this coming week because I'm going to Command Fest in Orlando.
Yeah.
So I'm not going to be able to go this weekend. I was hoping to win 3 so that I could basically be like, well, it's like I didn't win any, but I played both weeks.
Right.
I'm going to be 1 point shy of that, but that's still better than nothing.
Yeah.
But anyway, the last game, who was sitting across from me? It was, I don't remember. Somebody I know well. But anyway, it was one of the guys that I convinced to come there, Dwayne.
Dwayne, yep.
Yep, that works with us. I convinced 3 guys from work to come who played Magic or have played Magic in the past. They all loved it. But anyway, he kept countering my stuff, kept messing with my things, and I'm like, all right, you got to go.
Yeah.
So I was focusing on
Yeah,
him.
you don't like it so much, huh? It's not so fun.
That's my job.
Yeah, right. Yeah.
Yeah. I was focusing on him, and so I had a bunch of copies of that creature.
Right.
And so I'm swinging in vigilance, whatever. And then I'm sorry, I did not have copies of that creature. I had one of those creature, and I had my commander. I was swinging it, so I was doing like 7 damage each turn. But then I got this enchantment with Storm that says this creature gets +1/+1 for each enchantment. I cast 2 spells before it, then cast that.
Yeah.
So I have 3 copies. I have the original and two token copies. And so I swung it at him, and I did the math wrong.
Oh,
The math is for blockers thing is not a good thing. I said, okay, I've got this enchantment. I've got this enchantment over here. That's 2. There's 3 copies of this, so +6 damage. It's a 3. That's 9. No. Each of the tokens is an enchantment. I don't know why that turn I didn't think of it. That was, so it was 4 times 3 is 12.
right.
That's 6 points of damage difference.
Well, you're still doing it wrong, right? Because you said the enchantment has Storm on it.
Yeah.
And the enchantment said you get +1/+1 for each enchantment you control.
Right.
Right. So each of them would count themselves, right? So it would actually be 16 damage because each of them gives +1/+1 for each enchantment. So you have one enchantment that's giving 4.
No,
Is it 4 or how many enchantments you said you had?
Oh, you're right. It was 16. Yeah,
Yeah.
it was 6 versus 16.
Yeah.
I'm sorry. Yeah, you're right.
Yeah,
I
yeah.
did it right then. I was saying it wrong now.
Yeah.
So it was 16 damage
Yeah.
versus 6 that I said.
Yeah.
He would have been dead. The next time around, when I caught it, I then swung at him. And now I made a mistake because I forgot to swing my commander as well. Because I was like, oh, he's dead. But I should have at least swung that
At someone else.
At the guy to my left, who was the only other player in the game.
Yeah.
And that ended up being the difference, because if I had killed him the turn before, that would have been 20 damage that went over here. He had 52 life.
Yeah.
He had a ton of life, but I had just basically nerfed him, so I knew he wasn't going to kill me.
Right.
I just needed to get through the life. That would have been a turn earlier to do 20 damage. Because when he died, when the game ended, I think he had 11 life left. I just couldn't get enough damage. So that one thing made it so I missed that 3-0 to make it so I don't lose any points. But it was a great game. I had a great time. It was a lot of fun. So let's talk about upgrades.
Yeah, upgrades. We'll let you go first. So what did you go with for your upgrade?
I went with Modern Horizons 3.
And what was the number 1 card you got out of there, you think, for your deck?
It wasn't so much a number 1 card as it was, I got 4 cards out of that one pack that were good enough to put in.
And out of those 4, which one would you say, I think this one's going to be the most impactful for what I'm doing?
Deem Inferior is the name of the card, and I have to look it up because I'm not. But why don't you talk about yours while I'm looking it up?
Yep. So I went with, because the pirate deck specifically, it's really centered around the whole pirate theme. So I was talking to Duncan, and I was talking to Bryce also, and the card shop keepers about it. And I was like, I think I'm going to go Thunder Junction. And then Bryce said, well, you should also go Aether Drift because they did some pirates in Aether Drift. I said, okay. But my thought for Thunder Junction was Thunder Junction brought in the mercenary thing. So pirates are in that category. So any cards in that set that say, bring back all mercenaries from your graveyard, that's all my pirates. Because every single card in that deck's a pirate. So when I opened the packs, by far, which this is a card that as soon as I pulled it, I said, well, as soon as this league's over, I'm putting this in another deck because this is a crazy card. I got the dragon, the red dragon. What's his name? Terror of the Peaks.
Oh, yeah.
Right? I think that's him. Is that the one that does damage whenever a creature comes in?
Yeah.
Yeah, that's what I got. I pulled that out of one of my packs. It was a mythic rare. I pulled it out. I was like, well, that's a $30-something card. I just made back all my money if I were to sell this card. But yeah, I got Terror of the Peaks out of one of my packs. And I was like, I know it has nothing to do with pirates, but with how many freaking creatures I have in this deck, like getting able to do free damage for no reason just for casting cards, that's always a plus. Yeah. And if I do get to steal cards from the top of people's libraries, if I ever get enough of those kind of cards and I'm casting their creatures off the top, especially because Tarkir just came out, there's a lot of Tarkir precons, and Tarkir has a lot of big dragons in their precons. So, being able to do free damage for casting stuff. So I'd probably say that's probably going to be my most impactful one. I did get a couple of other cards. I got some pirates from Aether Drift. I got some mercenary focus cards from the 2 Thunder Junction packs. But yeah, Terror of the Peaks by far was my big pull. That's my big upgrade.
Gotcha.
From this week.
So I didn't get a big beast like that. I didn't
Yeah.
get a big bomb, but getting 4 cards out of the one pack, I was like, that's pretty good.
Yeah.
The Demon Inferior, it's 3 and a blue sorcery. This spell costs 1 less to cast for each card you've drawn this turn. I draw a ton of cards. That's going to be probably 1.
Yeah.
The owner of target non-land permanent puts it into their library second from the top or on the bottom. So that's their choice. But no matter what, that gets around indestructible.
Yeah.
You know, so
Yeah, it gets around non-counterable stuff too.
Yep. So that I thought that was probably going to be the best card. I did get 3 others that I can't remember off the top of my head. Now, here's the thing. It wasn't so much what I got, what I was able to take out. There was a card I got in my hand every single game.
Yeah.
And I actually played 4 games because the first game I won so fast, everybody's like, well, we'll just play again. Everybody else is still playing.
Yeah.
It didn't count, but we were just playing again. I actually got it in all 4 games. 6, a blue, and a red.
Okay.
I can't remember the name of it, but it's crazy. It's like create a 4/4 elemental, deal 4 damage to target creature, draw 2 cards.
I mean, for 8 mana, that's a pretty good trade-off.
Or you can pay hybrid blue-red, and discard it, and you can get 2 treasure tokens. A treasure token. That's not bad either. The problem is I always wanted to cast it. It's a trap card.
Right.
I always wanted to cast it.
Yeah.
So I didn't want to do it. Most of the games I didn't have the mana, and the couple situations where I had the mana, I couldn't justify doing that instead of doing 2 or 3 other things.
Right. Especially because your commander specifically cares about casting your second spell each turn, right? Yeah. So that is a hard, but it's an instant.
Yeah.
I mean, holding back 8 mana.
I mean, if I hold back 8 mana, I could counter 2 spells, or I could,
Yeah, I mean, that's...
So anyway,
Yeah.
I took it out. Yeah, I feel like that's a trap card.
Yeah.
If you are able to do the 2 to get a treasure when you can't really cast it, or if you have a turn where you just have the mana and you're like, I got nothing better to do, sure. But I think you can put better stuff in there. The other nice thing is I took out all the tapped lands.
Yeah.
The ones that automatically come in tapped. And I took out the ones that say pay a blue or pay 1 and then you get like 2 colors.
Yeah.
A blue and a red, or
Right.
Because what would happen a lot of times is I'm tapping a color I want, but it's not giving me, like I want 2 blue. I can't get 2 blue when I have an island in that.
Right.
You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So
I get that.
I would rather have the ones that say get this or this.
Right.
You know?
Yeah, so I did pull out, I changed out 5 of my lands. So I did change out 5 of my lands for basics. And then I actually pulled out 1 extra one just to put in like I think it was one of the creatures I pulled from my packs. Because the precons have 37 lands.
Yeah, I took 2 lands out. So of
Yeah.
those 4 cards, I only had to cut in 2.
Right. So I pulled out 1 land. So I dropped down to 36. I'm going to try running it. Now, again, you guys have to remember, these are precons. These are not well tuned in regards to getting your ramp and getting crazy really fast. That's not what they're supposed to do. Even the trickier precons that just came out, very good, very well done, still not to the point of where by turn 3 they're going to have 8 mana out. That's not what they do. So I did drop down at least 1 land. There's a good chance I'm probably going to cut another one because, I think personally, especially if I keep getting better upgrades to get a little bit quicker, I do think that it's pretty easy to cut land specifically, especially when there is so many that come in tapped in precons. So I did cut most of the ones that come in tapped. I didn't want to cut them all because, again, it is a 3-color deck, so I want to make sure I can still get my colors pretty consistently, especially with not having any dig cards where I can't go and find lands because I don't have green.
Yeah,
I'm blue, black,
that's
red.
always hurts in a precon.
Yeah, so I kept in like Evolving Wilds, and I think the other one, Terramorphic Expanse, I think I have. So I kept both those in there just so I can do color fixing, but we'll see what happens. I mean, if I get one of those, one of the cards that Clayton pulled, who's one of the guys from work here that went and played, he got a Misty Rainforest.
I got a polluted Delta.
Yeah.
Unfortunately.
Yeah, I would love
I can
to
use
have
it
that.
to go get an island, but
I would
That's
love
only
to have
one
that.
of my
That's two of my colors.
Yeah, it's only one of my colors.
I would
so
kill to have that.
At first, I was like, "Oh, dude," and I'm like, "Oh, think about it, dude. You don't have black."
Yeah.
And again, sometimes even just being able to get an island, if you're playing a highly optimized deck,
Yeah.
Sure, go get a
Especially because
volcanic island
Yeah.
or something like
Right.
that. But I don't have those cards in this deck.
Right, exactly. So, and then, so I guess last thing we'll talk about this. I mean, overall, from the way they set it up and the way they do it, and the way their point system is going to be working, and the way they're going to let us customize the decks as we play. What do you kind of foresee going on here? Do you think we're going to keep having the consistency we had the first week, or do you think?
I do. Everybody's returning for week 2.
Yeah.
Except I'm gonna miss it.
I unfortunately also will miss it because we're celebrating Easter on Saturday instead of Sunday because my sister's literally only in town for like 12 hours.
Yeah,
So-
that's unfortunate. But other than that, I think most people are gonna show up. 3 people who had been playing Magic, one of them newer, the other 2 had played a long time ago. That I invited to play, all 3 said they loved it.
Yeah.
I think I'm starting to get the EDH hooks back into them.
Yeah. I mean, shout out to our buddies Mike, Dwayne, and Clayton. They're all co-workers of ours. We've known all of them for some extended period of time in one way or another. But yeah, they all joined also. So out of all the people that were there, I think there was 20 people there the first night, or 21.
20. No,
20.
it ended up being 22.
22. So there ended up being 22 people there. A good chunk of them were us. And Commander's Pod showed up. We got 3 dubs.
Yep.
So I'm going to take that as a partial victory for myself. Duncan's 2 wins. But yeah, I mean, overall, I'm really pleased with it. I definitely think as a first-time effort, they're doing it the right way. They're making it pretty minimalistic. They're not making it too complicated. They're just saying, hey, you do this. Like, one of the things that was really cool, which I didn't expect to do, is they gave us a box to put all of our stuff in every week. And so they said,
one of those long boxes.
yeah, one of the long boxes, like the collector boxes where you usually stash cards. They said, hey, here's your box. It has your name on it. Put your deck in there. Take your wrappers from each pack you open up, put them in there, and all your extra cards that you get from each pack, put them in there. And then just leave everything for the league in there. That's all you have to do. And then you hand it back to them, and they store it for you.
Yep.
And
So you
that's
don't
it.
have to worry about somebody messing with their deck and cutting in. They don't have to do deck checks every week.
Yep, they don't have, and you don't have to worry about you leaving it at your house on accident and having to drive back and delaying the whole thing. So I think overall, like, this is really cool. It's really exciting. It's super fun because it's simplistic enough to where it's not hard to follow kind of what's going on, but it's still super fun, and it gives, I think, something that Commander players lack, which is they don't have a Friday Night Magic.
Right.
Like, Precon is not made for EDH.
Right.
As fun as it is to go there and be a part of it, like you were for Trickier, and being able to open
You mean
those
pre-release, not pre-con.
Yeah, I'm sorry, pre-release. They don't, as fun as it is to do pre-release and everything like that, it's not made for EDH players, Commander players, and so that's always been something I felt like was lacking in every single shop. Is there's no real like Commander night or Commander League. Like, there's never been one.
Yeah.
Now there is. Now there is a great reason. You know what? I'm going to go spend 3 hours playing Commander with some buddies in a league, and then hopefully at the end of the league I'll win some money, or win some store credit, or win some free packs, or whatever the prizes they're going to do. And I think it's a fun way to also encourage your shop to mix up your player base, because a lot of times when we go to play Commander at the shop, for the most part, there's about 6 of us that we always end up sitting down and playing together the whole night.
Yeah.
It's very rarely do you mix it up and like get up.
Part
from
of
the
that
table.
problem is because originally myself and Lizard and our group were playing a higher power
Right.
than some of the other players. Like,
Right.
most of the players were playing our high power, but there was like a pod or 2 pods. They were playing something a little more, tier 2 or tier 3.
Yeah, what we would consider bracket 2, bracket 3 now. Yeah, absolutely. And again, and we're not blaming anybody. We're not saying it's your fault for being a weaker power player.
No, my point is it was our fault for playing higher power and not including them.
Right. You know, and so I think it's just super fun. I think it's cool that there's basically now a Commander Night Magic at this shop. And again, I would highly encourage, if you have a local store, to maybe throw this their way, because it was such a great turnout.
Yeah.
22 people. everyone. I didn't hear one bad thing from anybody the whole time. The high powered players
And
that
that's
we have in
even
our
with,
group,
because it was 22, math check, that doesn't break down to 4 players per pod.
right? So there was a couple of pods that had 3 players,
Right.
But-
But it was still fine. It was great.
Yeah, I mean it was super fun, and I'm really excited. I'm gonna try to get there as many weeks as I can. I do have an anniversary trip coming up at the end of May, but they did say that if they had to miss a week because of something, that would just add to the weeks. It's not going to detract it. So it's 12 play weeks, not 12 straight weeks.
Right.
So
So if there was a week where not enough people show up, they're not going to be like, oh, we got to do it anyway.
Right.
You two battle it out.
yeah, you get to play 3 matches against each other solo and Commander. Good luck.
Yeah.
And but yeah, so super excited about it. I had such a great time. I thought it was super fun. The only complaint that I have is their random table generator sucks. I got paired with the same people in 3 games. 50% of my table I played with twice in every game. There was only one game where I played with one guy once. That was it.
So there's 2 Andrews at our shop.
Yeah.
There's the Andrew of Kill Andrew first.
Yep, the Kill Andrew first.
And then there's
Andrew.
another Andrew. That Andrew I played with games 1 and 2. That's the only repeat I have.
I had Kill Andrew first twice. I had Paul twice. I had Bryce twice. I had one new player, one game, and that was it. And it was a newer guy. No, I'm sorry, not Bryce. RJ twice. That's who it was. RJ is who I played with twice. But yeah.
I will also say, just because I feel like this is also relevant. So having played the Jeskai Striker out of the box, it's not bad.
Yeah.
It's definitely a precon.
Yeah.
It's not fast.
Yeah.
But it does some cool stuff.
Yeah. It from what I've seen, because one of our, I think Mike was the other one who got that one. Did Dwayne also go with that one?
No, Dwayne went with actually Deep Clue C.
Okay, that was the one I was debating on getting too, because no one really has clue decks. But then I was like, man, that's gonna be hard to upgrade.
Yeah.
That was my only deterrent.
It's not though, because a lot of sets did do investigate.
Right, specifically
Murders at Karlov.
Murders at Karlov Manor, which he bought 3 packs of, I think, to upgrade his. And then Clayton, which one did Clayton end up going with? He went with Zerg, right?
Yep.
Zergo, which, talk about a great pool. He got the better version of Zergo out of his pack.
There's 2 Zergos, and there's one that people say, I wish that was the commander.
Yeah, that's the one he pulled. And he pulled the foiled version of it too, which was sick. But I was like, he's like, is this? He was like, wait a minute, isn't this my commander? I was like, no. This is the better version of your commander. This is the one that everyone says should be the Precon commander. So he got to do that one, which that's the mobilized commander.
And so I will say this. That is a very good deck as well.
Yeah.
However, the problem with that deck that I saw, and you can tell me, I don't know how many times you faced that deck. You take out the commander, and they're just sitting there.
Right, and
they have a bunch of creatures, but they're all 0/5, 0/3. The 1/4.
Yeah, the one with there's another one that's very similar to that. It's I think it might be the Abzin one, the green, white, black, right? That's Abzin. That one I saw has the same problem, because that one cares about the toughness and the commander specific.
Oh, that's the one I'm thinking of.
Yeah,
that's my bad.
Yeah, Abzan's that one.
one.
Abzan's that one, because that one, as soon as you get rid of the commander,
but when the commander's out and they're doing things, they now have, instead of a 0/5 that cost them like 2 mana, they have a 5/5.
Yeah,
basically.
and then on top of that, the way the commander works is they can sack it and draw cards equal to its toughness. So they can draw 5 for 3 mana.
Yeah.
Which is stupid.
Yeah.
So, I mean, that one is very reliant on the commander. I played that one, and that is what I did. I just focused on getting rid of the commander,
Well,
and they
that's why
couldn't do anything.
In the last game is when I really faced it twice, but the last game is when I was like, the first game I faced it went off.
Yeah.
And so this last game I was like, I'm not letting it go off.
Yeah.
So he would build up his thing, and then he'd finally cast his commander. I'd be like, Swords to Plowshares.
Yeah.
And then he'd build it up and do it again. And I was like, bounce it back to your hand. He's like, I know he was aggravated. I felt a little bad, but I'm like,
yeah, like you can't. There is some of those precons that, in my opinion, they go from like a 2 to like a high 3 if the commander's out.
Yeah.
If the commander's not out, they're probably like a 2. But when the commander's out, it changes them completely. So, but yeah, Zergo is the mobilized commander, the one that focuses on that new mechanic. And the better version of him is the one that keeps them around, so they don't actually die at the end of turn. So you swing, you just keep building an army. And then on top of that, he also got the black card, the Avenger of the Fallen, which is the one that cares about it mobilizes based off of creatures in your graveyard. So I was like, yeah, you also need to put that one in. Like, make this your commander, take the one that is your commander, put it in the 99, and then take that one and put it in your deck also. They are both.
And he got really good pulls. He had a couple more he wanted to cut in, and I'm going through his deck list. You're going through. It's like, yeah, it's good. I don't think it's better than any of this.
Right. Yeah. So I mean, that one I didn't get to play that one. So
now I am a little worried. Somebody made him go down to 32 lands.
Someone made him go down to 32?
They didn't make him, but they like 3 people suggested. I want to corner him and be like, I'm a 32 land player in a deck that I fully built.
Right.
In a 3-color deck.
Yeah, I mean, the big thing is it depends on the curve, right? Because your curve is going to be really relying on that. And then what is your color base also is going to depend on if you can really pull that off. Yeah. Now, Zergo's only a 3-drop. The other version of him is only a 3-drop. And Avenger of the Fallen is also a 3-drop. So all 3 cards we talked about are 3 or less mana. So it's not a high mana deck. Now, the other thing is, too, is I don't know how many rocks were in there. I don't know what the rock situation is because some of the 3-color commander decks, they actually do have a decent chunk of rocks because they know they need them. So, you know, you have your Commander Sphere, your Soul Ring, your Arcane Signet, and then some of them even have what's the one that came out in the Tarkir set? It's a 3-drop.
It's a 3-drop, and if you have a dragon, it enters with an additional +1 or something. But I don't care about that. I'm just using it for a mana of any
right,
color.
and it's 1 mana of any color. So I do know that some of the precons were like that. So I think they run at least 4 or 5 rocks. So we'll see what happens, though. I'm excited for when we get to play week 2, which will be probably our week 3, unfortunately, in the league because we both got a miss. But I'm very excited about it. I'm pumped, and I can't wait to see what happens the next time we get to play.
Yep. Definitely. Any pro tips this week?
Yeah. So I got 2 quick pro tips. 1, wear sunscreen if you're in Florida. I went on a quick trip with my family to the water park, Adventure Island in Tampa. In my arrogance and hubris, I said, I don't need sunscreen. I never get sunburnt. Not remembering that I haven't been outside in the sun without my shirt on in like 2 years. I am baked
that's why
right
you
now.
never get sunburned.
Yeah. Funny story, huh?
Yeah.
So I am baked right now. If you can tell, my face is a little red. I also got a haircut, unrelated. But yeah, please wear sunscreen. Sunburns hurt. I had to miss work yesterday, and which is why we're recording a day later, because I had to lay on my bed all day and not move because I was in so much pain.
Yeah, so actually, it is Sloan's fault that Jeff is not
that
with
Jeff's
us.
not here. It is my fault. I was like, maybe I can just get up to go there to record and come back. No, I couldn't move, dude. I literally could not move anything. The second pro tip is, though, that doesn't do what you think it does. Great segment to pay attention to, because we actually brought up something in my last game that was relevant, which was how does lifelink work if you're technically going to die? Yeah, that happened in one of the games on Saturday night. And so I told the guy, I said, nope, he'll live because damage is simultaneous and he gains the life and he stays alive. And the guy's like, no, I'm pretty sure he doesn't. I'm like, I'm about 99.9% sure because we talked about this, but let me check with one of the shopkeepers, the judge. I asked him, he goes like, yep, you're right. He'll stay alive because damage is simultaneous. So he ended up living that turn with 3 life. And then he killed himself because he said he would, because he knew he was going to lose the game. So he did a couple things on his turn and then killed himself. Yeah. Coup de grace. But yeah, just so you know, we also use the things that we talk about whenever we go out and play. And there is still players that we come across that sometimes don't realize that that's the way certain mechanics work. So, you know, every little bit of knowledge you have about this game helps.
Yep. We had a situation that came up. It was very, very specific, so I'm not going to get into it. It was like a 1-card ruling type of thing. But yeah, it's definitely, there's things sometimes it's counterintuitive to how you might think. So,
right. Exactly.
That's why we try and go over them. But that's about all the time we have for this week. Thanks for joining us. If you'd like to reach out to us, cast@commanderspod.com. You can always check us out on youtube.com/commanderspod. Our Patreon is patreon.com/commanderspod. And we really appreciate everybody support and everybody watching, and we'll see you next week.
Commander's Pod, where the stories unfold with heroes